"Yes," said Hugh softly. She licked the stud and pushed her hand through unkempt blue hair, streaked with red, like an arrow's fletching. "Your routine, huh?" "That's right," said Hugh, slowing a little, perhaps losing 5 seconds. He now resumed his quick pace. "Later." "Have a nice day, Buddha," she laughed. Hugh raised his hand above his shoulder and waved goodbye. Hannah was the name of the woman at the trailer. Her boyfriend's name was Kyle. Yes, Kyle. They were a couple he'd heard arguing regularly at the Peace and Love Cafe 3 miles north. Once, when Kyle went to the cafe's restroom, leaving Hannah and Hugh on the deck, he'd spoken to the young woman. Then she made an almost tearful apology for their loud and personal spat. Hugh lied and said he hadn't noticed. She accused him of being too polite, and then asked him what was the worst thing he had ever done in his life. The very worst thing. Before he had the chance to decline to answer, she declared that his worst was nothing compared to hers. But by then Kyle had returned. With a "pleasure to talk to you," she truncated the conversation. Hannah had noticed his beach routine, so what? All the better. On Pacific Coast Highway, the summer traffic stuttered. A few thousand feet above the sea, a small buzzing airplane pulled a banner. "I don't always drink beer, but when I do." A homeless man, barefoot, bearded, ragged and stained, walked by, reviling invisible enemies. At the crosswalk, Hugh pressed the yellow button that eventually would stop the traffic. He pressed it twice more for luck. Sometimes the walk sign would not appear for 10 minutes, but today the lights changed almost immediately, clearing his path across the highway. He was almost through the crosswalk when a siren sounded behind him. He turned to see a boxy red ambulance, lights flashing, barreling out of the canyon. "Hitoshi! Takumi! Hitoshi! Takumi!" The ambulance maneuvered south through the frozen PCH traffic, the lights and sound gone so quickly, the twin rivers restored so swiftly to their flow that it might never have been there. Beyond the birds of paradise, trashed bougainvillea, and ice plant, the Pacific spread as tight as a child's skin. A wave smacked the shore, growling as it rushed back over a million pebbles. At the break, 50 surfers sat frozen on their boards waiting for a set. Beyond the surfers, a kayaker paddled past a buoy, and then slowed against the vast sea. Reaching the steps that led down to the sand, Hugh smelled the tar of the dark brown logs bordering the stairway. When he left the beach, he would sit on the wood to wipe the sand off his feet, the timber's heat radiating through his buttocks. In the wood, someone had painstakingly carved the wild quotation that Hugh read a year ago, and now whispered in his ear, as if by a ghost. Death must be so beautiful, to lie in the soft brown earth, with the grasses waving above one's head, and listen to silence, to have no yesterday and no tomorrow, to forget time, to forgive life, to be at peace. Hugh glanced down to where the inscription should be, but wasn't. Someone had ripped out the seductive words. Except for surfers, Topanga Beach, strewn with flea-infested rotting kelp and innumerable rocks, drew few visitors. A handful of canyon residents, Europeans, Hispanic families, boys and girls bathing naked like flower children or in their drooping underwear. It was to this beach that Hugh had brought the boys to learn how to surf, and to which he had returned to end his life. Setting his gym bag down a short distance from the stairs, Hugh spread his towel and found 4 rocks to hold down the edges, though the wind was negligible. He stood up, sucked in a lungful of ocean air, and touched the waistband of his bathing suit. He undid the cord's bow, yanked the ends tighter, and retied the nylon. Satisfied with the snug waistband, he took a step toward